We are back at 365 Sports NFL Media Headquarters, Radio Row. The great Darren Woodson, former Cowboys safety, here with us, Paul Catalina, and I'm David Smoak. What does this week mean to you? I know there's a lot going on with you right now.
Well, this week, as always, Super Bowl is always a big week. And, for 13 years, I covered it with ESPN. Had the opportunity to do it for three Super Bowls myself, playing with the Dallas Cowboys. So it's always that special time, but it always brings back memories of not so much the week of Super Bowl as the work that went in before that. It was in March and April when the off-season programs are kicking off, and what you were working toward, the ultimate goal being the Super Bowl. That's to me what this is all about, because this is just the flowers then. Once you put in all that work, here come the flowers, and you have the opportunity to play in this game.
What is the biggest difference you see from your three Super Bowl teams to what the Cowboys are going through now? Because I don't know, if you could say personnel-wise, strategy-wise, that there's anything they haven't tried to do to get back to where that is.
Yeah.
But there's an element missing that seems to be almost intangible from what you guys had to what is going on now.
Well, it's hard to compare that, right? Because back then it was a little different. If you looked at us across the board offensively, we probably had the best offensive line to ever play the game as far as depth is concerned. The Stepnoskis and the Larry Allens and
Giesick, Gogan.
Nate Newton, Giesick, Gogan. I mean, Frank Cornish. We just had so many guys that we could throw. Even our backups would come in and dominate, and we were extremely physically offensively. Defensively, we were just the opposite as far as we bring guys at waves on you on the defensive front. I mean, we had guys coming off the bench that could play at the highest level, and then the secondary was always pretty strong as well. So I think personnel is different, and our identity was totally different. Coaching staff were different. The way we went about our business was different. This team has to find its own identity. I remember having this same conversation, with Romo and those guys way back when I was telling those guys, they were asking me the same type of question. Like, you guys got to go find your own identity. You got to go find what makes you special, because that's not what you guys are doing is going to be totally different than what we are. But again, like I just said earlier, it didn't start during the season where the season started and you flipped that light switch on. We were fighting and going at each other in March and competing with each other in the weight room. And when we were doing running drills, we were competing back then. And I think that was the difference, because we were just sharpening each other, and Jimmy kept an alpha dog mentality all the time, where competition was, it was the glory of what we were doing was the competition that allowed us to play at the highest level. And I'm not saying that they're different, but maybe they are. Maybe they go about things totally different nowadays.
Your leaders, your stars, including you, Aikman, Emmett, Irvin, were also the hardest working.
Yeah, absolutely.
From what I was always told.
And that's no different from, look, I'm not in that locker room in today's game, in that Cowboys locker room. I'm not. But you can't tell me, and I'm going to give you this. I office at the Star in Frisco, where they practice. My office is on the third floor. It looks down on that practice field. And I can see when guys in the offseason, they show up March and April. And number 4 is there. He's putting in work. Micah Parsons, the rest of those guys, they're coming in and putting in work. So there's a lot of guys that show up early. They get the work in that they need to do as far as taking care of their body, getting physically strong. I'm not sure if all of them are coming in. Like, we had no choice. You didn't miss the offseason. There was
no voluntary.
Oh, no, it was voluntary mandatory, or you got cut by Jimmy, right?
Yeah.
It's a little different now just because of CBA rules, and that goes across the board from every team. But, that's how you build a team. It starts early on where you can't miss, and you hold each other accountable for showing up, working out, and getting that mindset right to be a championship mindset.
One of the players you played with in the secondary, Kevin Smith, Pup.
Yeah, Puppy Dog.
He's College Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, man.
One of the
Much
guys, and look, for the Cowboys teams, he forget how good he was.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is because, look, Larry Brown won the MVP of the game.
Yep.
Dion was there with you guys. You're there.
Yep.
But you had
James Washington.
You had all
Thomas
those,
Everett.
All those guys there, and Pup was consistently good for all this time.
Look, let me tell you, Kevin Smith doesn't tear his Achilles. He's a perennial All-Pro. He came in his second league. He should have been an All-Pro player, a Pro Bowl player at least, and he got skipped over. But he came in the league, and a little different for me because Kevin Smith was my roommate. We came in together. And I watched him play. Craziest thing is, I hate to say this with him because I don't want to get his head swollen, but I was at Arizona State. He was at Texas A&M. And I remember watching them play and watching Pup play at A&M and saying, man, that dude.
He can do it.
Oh, he can do it. He can line up. And he was covering man-to-man, no help, out there one-on-one, moved his feet, went after the ball, did a little bit of everything. And then we got drafted. He goes, I think it was 17. I go in the second round. He goes first round, 17. I go in the second round. And we were roommates the entire time of his career. It was 10 years or 9 years of his career. We were roommates on the road all the time. So the friendship and the relationship, and the reason why I'm sitting here today, I promise you, there's a reason why I'm a Pro Bowler and did all those things and have these individual accomplishments, is because Kevin Smith, Larry Brown, Brock Marion, James Washington, Thomas Everett, those guys poured into me every single day to make me a better football player. It's the reason why I became what I was.
I was listening to Dave Campo on the other radio the other day, and he was talking about what your role was and what you would like the glue. And I know there's a lot of stars on that team. The line was quick, but he mentioned that you were the glue, and obviously because of what this week could mean to you as well, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Do you go about this week any differently than you have all the other times you've been involved with this?
As far as a player is concerned?
As a player or someone who's the possibility of or immortality?
Of being in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
No. I guess I look at this week as, look, the epitome of what I've always wanted to accomplish is, of course, I wanted to win championships and win as many as I can as far as a team concept, but as an individual, you want to be recognized for your play. And for me, it's, do I want to be in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd be lying to you if I told you that it doesn't weigh on my heart that hopefully I have the opportunity to do that, because I want to recognize those guys like we just said, the James Washingtons and the Kevin Smith and all those guys that were on number one defenses all those years and aren't getting recognized. The Dixon Edwardses of the world, or the Russell Maryland, so many guys that I played with. I want to recognize those guys because we don't have a lot of the players. Like 92, 93, we might have Charles Haley. Deion didn't come to us until 95, and he had played with the Falcons and then with San Francisco, so he really doesn't count.
Yeah.
But the rest of those guys that won those championships, man.
You haven't gotten the residue that the Steelers got from the 70s.
No, at all. At all. Ken Norton Jr., who ended up going to San Francisco, was the leader of that defense in 92. Like, there's so many guys that played at really high levels. And I'm thinking about this the other day. We forced 9 turnovers the first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
9 turnovers.
The first Super Bowl. 5 the second.
The one at the Rose Bowl.
Yes.
I was there, and you're right. It was like it almost got to the point where they playing with a different ball.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't know if we got recognized to play legitimately, be the number one defense throughout the entire season, go on the Super Bowl, force 9 turnovers, and no one says anything. Like, it's ridiculous that the guys that played on those teams don't get some of the same fanfare.
You played with Deion Sanders for a few years, and he's a very polarizing guy for people on the outside who don't know him, right? Because they've decided to paint this picture of what Deion is based on whenever they remember him in his career, right? But Deion Sanders, the coach, is kind of a different animal than maybe I think a lot of people have seen. What is your opinion on what he is doing and what he is trying to do as a head coach?
Look, man, he's been a leader of men forever, and no one has ever given him credit for the fact that he's so willing to help young kids, either young kids, young football players, to put them under his wing, to help them grow not only on the field, but all off the field. Like just becoming a man. And there's so many guys that coming into the locker room that guys rallied around him because he is that leader of men. And to watch him, look, I think we're seeing the final product of what Deion is as far as his coaching ability and the fact that players want to play with him. But I remember when he first started off at the Pee Wee League level, at the little kids were coming to him, 7, 8 years, 9 years old, that were coming to him. and he was talking about them being men. And the way they treat the way they should be treating their mom, and how they should be acting in school and doing the right things. And he was teaching kids then, and then it went to the high school level, and then it went to Jackson State,
right.
And now he's at the University of Colorado, and he's still doing the exact same thing, teaching men how to become men. And I just got so much respect for him. The best football player I've ever played with, hands down. There's two guys, Larry Allen, Deion Sanders. And Deion Sanders, I'd say, the best football player and the best athlete. He's got both of those things.
Yeah, people, I also think, don't know because they just saw, like when you saw him in the 90s, you saw Deion in the clothes and the flash in prime time, and that the character he kind of created, right?
Yeah.
That was his persona. But people don't realize how, like, I've never heard one person say Deion was a bad teammate.
No.
Never once.
Never was. And he's a country boy. You never know that. Like, it's prime time on game time, right?
You think he's from L.A. or Miami or something.
No, he's fishing on it's Sunday, Monday morning. You're going to find him at the local pond somewhere trying to fish or drugs his little pond with turtles or something like. He is a country boy at heart, but he's the most giving person that you'll ever meet. Now, prime time does show up. When it's game time, whether he be a football player or a coach, he wants to play with confidence. And he's the most confident person. And I've learned so much about, how your approach to a game and how much confidence you bring just by watching him prepare and then walk out on the field and talk to himself to be the best.
We had Bill Miller on earlier today from the Gaming Association. And we were discussing the state of Texas and Mark Cuban selling off to the group out of Vegas. And you are partners with Choctaw Casinos and Resorts as part of the entrepreneur of what you do now.
Yes.
And Aikman and Pudge and Emmett and all of that.
Emmett just came on today, joined the partnership. But we are, look, I've been a friend and had a relationship with Choctaw for the last 7 or 8 years. And it started off by going up to Choctaw, driving 90 minutes up and watching concert venues up there. Best concert venues you could ever have are at Choctaw Resort, just 90 minutes up north, right in the city of Durant, Oklahoma. But it's an easy drive. But also they built this tower about 2.5, 3 years ago, where it's a resort-style pool class. I mean, one of the best steakhouses in the country. And it's a way to get away with family. I'll take my kids up there, take my wife, my family, friends, either go watch a concert or enjoy the amenities. But it's been a great relationship, and that's the reason why you see the likes of the Troy Aikman, who's doing the same and has for the longest time, or Emmett Smith joined that partnership because of that relationship. It's a strong relationship.
So you're a businessman.
Yes.
You took care of yourself after the career. How was that transition for you? Because we had Nate Boyer on, who's part of military and NFL players after their regiment of what they are and how difficult that transition can be. Was it ever for you?
No, it was. Well, it kind of was, but again, it wasn't, because when I was playing football, my agent was a developer, and I officed with my agent for 96. I started doing that, so I started understanding the real estate game early on because of my agent, George Bass, who was the CFO for a company called Weber & Company. So the transition for me was I understood what life was like without football, and that there was something that I could be in love with outside of football, which was real estate. And that's the reason why the transition wasn't so hard, because I knew exactly what I was going to do. Emmett Smith knew exactly what he was going to do. And got a kudos to Roger Staubach for coming back and pouring into guys like myself and Emmett and the real estate game. But I think I've always known that life is short in this industry as far as the NFL is concerned, not for long, and knowing that I was going to move into something else. So my transition was not as hard as some of the former players that I played with.
Arizona State going to the Big 12.
Yeah.
I mean, look.
I'm happy, man.
You're happy? Look,
good.
They're basically saying, Darren, we're going to come and see you now.
Come see me. Yes. So I get to see, and we've had to adopt teams, right? And because Arizona State is out in Phoenix and I'm in Dallas, so we go watch TCU play. We go down to Texas and watch Texas play. And I have kids that love playing. They love the sport of football. Now I get to see Arizona State come to TCU. And play that game and go to Baylor and play those games there.
We'll put you up.
Yeah, we will. We'll take care of you down in Waco.
We got a couch now.
You got one. You waiting on me, huh?
Yeah. So the Super Bowl against Pittsburgh was at Sun Devil Stadium.
Yes.
Your alma mater.
Yeah,
My
it's
dad
special.
got his master's at Arizona State. He was at Luke Air Force Base.
Yeah.
And that just popped in my head that you played the Super Bowl in your stadium.
You know what the greatest thing was about that wasn't so much that it felt like home field advantage, because it kind of did.
Sure.
Because I played, so many games, being a Sun Devil and playing my college career there. But it was the fact that I had so many people, like teachers, that were my grade school teachers that I gave tickets to, and coaches that came up. And that week leading up to the Super Bowl, Tuesday and Wednesday, I went up to the schools and met with the teachers. And that was the most fulfilling part of me, because I was that little kid that was in their classroom that was just a little snotty-nosed kid that never knew what he was going to do. And those same teachers poured into me, and now they get to watch me. They get to go to the game and watch me play. That was the most fulfilling part of the Super Bowl.
With free agency interrupting your run in Dallas, and obviously there was the coaching change, but Switzer still was able to be there when Super Bowl 30.
Absolutely.
How many in a row, or how many in a chunk, could you guys have put together had free agency not?
Yeah, that's a hard question, but I legitimately feel like we could have won at least 4 or 5, at least 5. I think that team was special. And it was special in the sense of the way we worked, the way we were attached at the hip off the field, how Jimmy, and if Jimmy could have stayed with us, how Jimmy approached that team and how he knew how to, take the accelerator off when he had to, push it when he had to, and how he surrounded us with a great coaching staff at the same time that allowed us to play. So I think when you got a guy like Troy Aikman at the helm, man, he does not get enough credit for not only his skill set but his leadership abilities. I think that Troy would have led us to at least 5 Super Bowls.
I got a question for you. There was a summer training camp where he got so pissed off the offense was struggling or whatever, he turned around and punted the football.
Punted football, started the entire practice over again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just
sucked. Back then, when I was a kid, I was like, I don't know what you're doing. It's like we're about 10, 15 minutes for practice being over.
He was so frustrated.
And he was so frustrated. He kicked the ball, and he said, start it all over again. We started from the defensive back. So when you walk out on practice, in Jimmy's practice, you know exactly what you're going to do. You go do defensive back drills, you backpedal, you do all these. So it's like a game time. The guys are warming up for a game. It's the same thing for practice. So we started practice all the way over again, and then went from there. But that was Troy. Troy wanted not only to win, but things had to be right on the practice field in order for us to go out and play on Sunday. And if they weren't right, we weren't going to be the same team. And that's what we kind of lost. That's what we lost when we lost Jim.
That edge. Yeah.
There's a lot of people who like to take the hot take of like Troy Aikman shouldn't be a Hall of Famer because he didn't throw for a lot of yards.
Shame.
It's the stupidest thing. It's the stupidest thing in the world. And I can, he was the most accurate passer in the league.
Yes.
I mean, he could throw the ball through a keyhole. And I just tell them, all right, you put Troy Aikman in the Cowboys offense right now.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to throw for 6,000 yards.
Absolutely. He's going to throw, and he threw the out route better than anyone. He threw the deep post, the skinny post. He was as accurate. And I saw this guy every day. So you don't think I was getting sharpened up every single day?
Every time.
When I had to cover Michael Irvin or Jay Novacek or whomever, you better be on him because he's going to put it in a place where they can only make the catch.
How fulfilling was it when you, especially when you're a rookie coming up and Aikman's, threading the needle on you and he's, Novacek's muscling you up and Irvin's, basically robbing you,
right.
The way you played. But when you made that first one, when you're like, oh, okay, does that make you feel kind of like, okay, I do belong here?
Yes. And I think it was early on in my career. It was like the first few months of me making it, because my deal was I was what they call a tweener. I played linebacker in college, and they didn't think I could cover. But Lovie Smith was my coach at college, taught me how to cover slot receiver, taught me how to cover the running backs, tight ends. I was a cover guy, so the team didn't know that until I came into with the Cowboys. But when I first got there, it was, I'm watching guys and I'm thinking, okay, I know exactly where I fit. Dude, I can play. I honestly the confidence went through the roof when I got there because I knew just by watching the personnel that I fit I'm going to make this team. And not only am I going to make this team, but I'll be an impact player for this football team.
And you were, and I'm hoping this weekend that is something that you were honored with.
I appreciate that.
Lovie Smith, Big Sandy, Texas.
Big Sandy,
he is a
Texas.
great friend of mine because he recruited when he was at Tulsa. He played at Tulsa, then became a coach. He recruited East Texas. That's where I was when I started covering you back in the day.
Yeah.
Lovie Smith, loved the guy.
Yeah, great man.
Great
man.
defensive mind.
Yeah.
Again, it's Choctaw of casinos up in just on the other side of the Texas border.
Yes, right.
And make sure you have a chance. Aikman, Pudge, obviously Darren Woodson, Emmett Smith, a part of that, and Choctaw, a part of your life. Enjoy the weekend
Absolutely.
up there.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
Thank you, buddy.
guys.
Darren Woodson, the 365